What's up, guys? Welcome to Crash Course Anatomy and Physiology. Today we'll be talking about COVID-19 and some of its treatments. COVID-19 is this horrible pandemic that has taken over the world and canceled everything that was ever fun. So, today we'll be talking about some of its treatments. This video will include topics like hemoglobin, hydroxychloroquine, ventilators, and carbon monoxide poisoning. Let's begin with hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a 4-protein molecule that is responsible for carrying oxygen throughout the body. It runs through the blood. Carbon monoxide poisoning is when there is too much carbon monoxide in your blood. When there is too much carbon monoxide, your blood will replace the oxygen in it with carbon monoxide. And how does this tie into hemoglobin? Well, carbon monoxide primarily causes adverse effects by combining with hemoglobin, preventing the blood from carrying the oxygen it would need to carry it to the rest of the body. Depending on the rate at which carbon monoxide enters one body would be if the body is able to defend against it or not. If there was a super high concentration, carbon monoxide would kill that person in no less than 5 minutes. And since all the oxygen in your body is being replaced by carbon monoxide, the hormone erythropoietin, a hormone in the kidneys that helps with the production of red blood cells, will begin to make faulty red blood cells, spreading the poison all the more faster. Hemoglobin effects from COVID-19. Let's head to the thought bubble. So inside these hemoglobin molecules, there are iron molecules that are the heart and soul of transportation throughout the blood. Once the virus enters the body, the virus's RNA codes for a number of non-structural proteins that hijack the cellular pathways, take over the Fe ions in the hemoglobin, and act in their place. This sends many organs into great distress and sends the body into a hypoxemic state. This is the state where the body lacks much oxygen. The organs that would be most affected by hypoxemia is the heart, brain, and liver. Now let's talk about hydroxychloroquine. This drug is used to treat and prevent malaria, which is caused by mosquito bites. And now there's a theory that it could help patients with COVID-19, but that's very controversial. Malaria is an intermittent and remittent fever caused by a protozoan parasite that invades the red blood cells. Most people take this drug before they go on exotic journeys to tropical places or places where there's a high population of mosquitoes or malaria is very common. What hydroxychloroquine does is it kills the protozoan parasite that carries the malaria. Some side effects of taking hydroxychloroquine could be headaches, stomach aches, or nausea, but that's if you take it on an empty stomach. Some more major side effects could be vomiting or diarrhea. Hydroxychloroquine was thought to help with COVID-19 because, while studying the disease in vitro, which means in a petri dish, hydroxychloroquine had antiviral properties that could defend against the SARS-CoV-2 family, but not specifically COVID-19. Many doctors have seen very little improvement from taking the drug, but mostly no change. People who are currently taking hydroxychloroquine have moderate, mild, or severe cases of COVID-19, and this drug can be taken at any age. They have positive, negative, or outcomes with no change. There have been many studies about hydroxychloroquine, but there has been no final consensus about whether the drug should be very beneficial and used or not. And we won't know the final data for a few months. For example, a hospital in Shanghai tested 100 people who tested positive for COVID-19 with hydroxychloroquine, and they all showed signs of improvement. However, countries like Brazil and France have had to stop administering the drug because it has shown too severe of side effects. Now let's talk about ventilators. Ventilators are these amazing machines that help us breathe. They can be invasive or non-invasive. Non-invasive ventilators are the type of ventilators that have the tight-fitting mask. Invasive ventilators are the type of ventilators that are inserted into internal tubes through endotracheal intubation or tracheostomy. Endotracheal intubation is the placement of a flexible plastic tube into the trachea to maintain an opening airway to serve as a conduit through which to administer certain drugs. People are typically under anesthesia when undergoing this procedure. Tracheostomy is a medical procedure that involves creating an opening in the neck so the ventilator can go down the windpipe. And the patient might also be under anesthesia when going through this procedure. Ventilators might be needed when someone goes into surgery because the anesthesia might interrupt their breathing. They might also be needed when someone has trouble breathing on their own or cannot breathe on their own. There are currently hundreds of thousands of ventilators being used by COVID-19 patients. It's really hard to put a finger on that specific number. And there's also hundreds of thousands of ventilators in the making by different kinds of industrial companies. The main risk when using a ventilator is infection, because the tubes have germs on them and the germs are then inserted into the lungs. And chances of survival on a ventilator are super low. USA Today says there's about a 20% chance after a severe case is placed on a ventilator. Let's hear from the editorial. Welcome to the editorial, where we share our feelings and play depressing music. I changed my shirt so it looked like we moved, but we didn't really move. We're still at the desk. welcome to the editorial. First topic, hydroxychloroquine. I think hydroxychloroquine should not be prescribed to COVID-19 patients. There's not enough reliable evidence that it is beneficial, and depending on the person, the side effects may be too severe. Hospitals in France and Brazil have had to stop prescribing it because the side effects have been too severe. Next topic, ventilators. I need to pull out my notes for this one. While ventilators can sustain someone for a certain period of time, there's a very low survival rate for patients with a severe case. I am a firm believer in the first come, first served philosophy, but there may come a time when the ventilators run out. When that happens, the person that would be more likely to survive on a ventilator should get the ventilator. It's like when EMTs show up to the site of a car wreck and they have to pick who would go to the hospital first. They always pick the person that's going to survive, or that has the greater chance of surviving. Also, the more times a ventilator is given to a patient, the more germs it will collect. Someone has a severe case of COVID-19 and dies on the ventilator. After that, the ventilator is cleaned and will be given to someone else. You may have a less severe case and then you contract a lung infection from this ventilator. Ventilators will not be able to save lives. Yes, so first members not go for it, but you tell me how it is. The person that is more likely to survive, in my opinion, should get the ventilator. Alright, back to the desk. Thanks, editorial. Finally, we're going to talk about other treatments for COVID-19. First, remdesivir. Remdesivir is an oral drug with a nucleotide analog, specifically an adenosine analog, which inserts into viral RNA chains, causing their premature termination. Second, the antiviral EIDD2801 drug. This is an oral drug that works like remdesivir, except instead of stopping the virus from multiplying, EIDD2801 inserts mutations into the virus's RNA so that the virus multiplies and replicates with more and more mutations until it is essentially harmless. Third and finally, the Japan flu drug. This is an oral drug that is used to fight influenza in Japan. What this drug does is it stops the virus from replicating while also showing improvement in lung conditions. This was a pretty bad crash course. But we gotta start somewhere. Thanks for watching Crash Course Anatomy and Physiology. See you next time. Remember to stay safe and be healthy. Crash Course Anatomy and Physiology with Olivia is not associated with the real Crash Course at all, and this is all a joke.